Hello, and welcome back to the Classical Club, the uh, the electronic version as opposed to the in-person version. What a wonderful program! It's called Old Music, Edvard Grieg, and a Special Treat. I'll tell you about the special treat when we get to it. I think you're going to enjoy it very much. Let's start out with the old music, though. By old music, I don't mean music written by an old composer necessarily, because the composer in this case is the 20th century Italian composer Ottorino Respighi, probably best known to you as, or to everybody as having written The Pines of Rome and The Fountains of Rome. He also wrote some pieces that he called Ancient Airs and Dances. And the reason he called them that is because he found a bunch of old music, old Italian music, in manuscripts from the 17th century. And he liked some of the melodies so much, they were mostly just for a keyboard and a cello, or maybe a lute, that he took some of those melodies and he arranged them for instruments in a modern style. And that's why it's called Ancient Airs and Dances. He did 3 suites of those, each suite consisting of 4 pieces. And we're going to hear the first of those suites. The different pieces are named after ancient dances, that is, dances of the Renaissance and Baroque period. So first we have a balletto, then a galliard, then a villanelle, and then a passo mezzo, which means a half pace, which was used for masked dances, dances where people wore masks. Anyway, here's a suite number 1 by Ottorino Respighi, the 20th century Italian composer. That's why I call this piece old music, because the music is old, just dolled up with modern instruments. Very charming pieces these are. Here we are, Ancient Airs and Dances, written by Ottorino Respighi, using melodies from the 17th century, which no one had thought to do anything with, and he decided he would orchestrate them and make them into pieces. He did 3 sets of those, 3 sets of Ancient Airs and Dances, each consisting of 4 pieces. That was the first set, the first suite. Now comes a little group of dances, or at least that's what Edvard Grieg called them, the great Norwegian composer. 19th century composer, died very early in the 20th century. And undoubtedly the most famous of all Norwegian composers. He didn't write a lot of symphonies or operas, but he did write a lot of orchestral music for various uses, including these pieces. He wrote these pieces actually originally for piano, 2 pianos, and then they decided they were going to do a revival of a play by Henrik Ibsen that Grieg had previously written the music for, Peer Gynt. And he said, let's make that play a little longer, and we'll have a dance episode in the final movement. And I've got the music for it already. And they said, great, we'll do that. But then for some reason, it just didn't happen. So he orchestrated those pieces anyway. And they became known as the 4 Norwegian dances. And that's what we're going to hear right now. They're for orchestra. The 4 of them take about 16, 17 minutes, so they're not very long. Very charming music by Edvard Grieg, who had a real gift for melody. In fact, one time he was at a party in Germany, someplace, in the late 1880s. And there were a number of musicians there, and blah, blah, blah. Tchaikovsky was there as well. And someone went up to Tchaikovsky. Grieg was a very young man at that point. And they said, oh, Mr. Tchaikovsky, I just love your melodies are so beautiful. And he said, my melodies are okay, but that fellow over there can really write melodies. And he pointed at Edvard Grieg. Very high praise from a very good composer, Tchaikovsky. Anyway, the 4 Norwegian dances by Edvard Grieg. These are not pieces we dance to. Not pieces we dance to, but music for professional ballet companies. Here's the fourth of these Norwegian dances by Edvard Grieg. Big ending now. Norwegian Dances by Edvard Grieg, the great Norwegian composer, died in the early days of the 20th century. Now, that special piece that I promised you earlier, didn't say what it was, a special treat, I called it. It is a treat, too. I won't tell you what it is right now. I'll let the narrator introduce it for us. I will just say that it's a piece that was written in the 1930s by Sergei Prokofiev. And it was intended as a children's piece. He wrote it in the Soviet Union. He had gone back to what he thought was Russia, because he was born in a country that was called Russia, and then left to be a concert pianist and performer everywhere. Had a house and a family living in Paris, but he missed Russia. So he went back to Russia in the early 1930s. A terrible time to go back to Russia, because who was in charge in Russia? Stalin. And what was Stalin's big deal? Control. And that meant control of all the arts. So if you didn't write if you wanted to write an opera, it had better be about a collective farm, or it wasn't going to get performed. And you might be shipped to a concentration camp. In any case, Prokofiev wrote this piece for children originally. The idea was to teach children something about what certain instruments of the orchestra sounded like. So he had these instruments represent various characters in the story. Most people don't know this, but this is an original story written by Prokofiev himself, and he wrote the original text for it too. So here it is. It's come to be one of the most beloved pieces, been translated into every possible language. And I'll let the narrator, who is a very famous guy, David Attenborough, the English man who does all those nature specials on TV. David Attenborough is the narrator. Here is the piece.
This is the story of Peter and the Wolf. Each character is represented by a different instrument. The bird by the flute. The duck by the oboe. The cat by the clarinet. Grandfather by the bassoon. The wolf by three horns. The rifle shots by the timpani and the bass drum. And Peter by all the strings of the orchestra. Early one morning, Peter opened the gate and went out into the big green meadow. branch of a big tree sat a little bird, Peter's friend. All is quiet, the bird chirped cheerfully. Soon a duck came waddling by. She was glad that Peter hadn't closed the gate and decided to take a nice swim in the deep pond in the meadow. Seeing the duck, the little bird flew down upon the grass, settled next to her, and shrugged his shoulders. "What kind of a bird are you if you can't fly?" said he. To this the duck replied, "What kind of a bird are you if you can't swim?" and plunged into the pond. They argued and argued, the duck swimming in the pond, the little bird hopping along the bank. Suddenly, something caught Peter's attention. He noticed a cat crawling through the grass. The cat thought the bird is busy arguing. I'll just grab him. Stealthily, she crept towards him on her velvet paws. "Look out!" shouted Peter, and the bird immediately flew up into the tree. The duck quacked angrily at the cat. From the middle of the pond, crawled around the tree and thought, is it worth climbing up so high? By the time I get there, the bird will have flown away. Grandpapa came out. He was angry because Peter had gone into the meadow. It's a dangerous place. If a wolf should come out of the forest, then what would you do? Peter paid no attention to his grandfather's words. Boys like him are not afraid of wolves. But grandfather took Peter by the hand, led him home, and locked the gate. No sooner had Peter gone than a big grey wolf did come out of the forest. In a twinkling, the cat climbed up the tree. The duck quacked and in her excitement jumped out of the pond. But no matter how hard the duck tried to run, she couldn't escape the wolf. He was getting nearer, nearer, catching up with her. And then he got her, and with one gulp swallowed her. And now this is how things stood. The cat was sitting on one branch. The bird on another. Not too close to the cat. And the wolf walked round and round the tree, looking at them with greedy eyes. In the meantime, Peter, without the slightest fear, stood behind the closed gate, watching all that was going on. Then he ran home, took a strong rope, and climbed up the high stone wall. One of the branches of the tree around which the wolf was walking stretched out over the wall. Grabbing hold of the branch, Peter lightly climbed up into the tree. He said to the bird, "Fly down and circle around the wolf's head, only take care he doesn't catch you." The bird almost touched the wolf's head with his wings, while the wolf snapped angrily at him from this side and that. How the bird worried the wolf, how the wolf wanted to catch him, but the bird was cleverer, and the wolf simply couldn't do anything about it. Meanwhile, Peter made a lasso and carefully let it down. The lasso caught the wolf by the tail, and Peter pulled with all his might. Feeling himself caught, the wolf began to jump wildly, trying to get loose. But Peter tied the other end of the rope to the tree. And the wolf's jumping only made the rope around his tail tighter. Just then, hunters came out of the woods. Following the wolf's trail and shooting as they came. But Peter, sitting in the tree, said, "Don't shoot. Birdie and I have already caught the wolf. Now help us take him to the zoo." And now, imagine the triumphant procession. Peter at the head. After him, the hunters, leading the wolf. Grandfather and the Cat. Grandfather tossed his head discontentedly. "Well," he said, "and suppose Peter hadn't caught the wolf, what then?" The bird flew above them, chirping merrily. "My, what fine ones we are, Peter and I! Look what we have caught!" And if you listen carefully, you can hear the duck quacking inside the wolf, because in his hurry he had swallowed her alive.
Peter and the Wolf, a wonderful thing intended for children, but wonderful for adults to listen to as well. It's a charming story written by the composer himself, Sergei Prokofiev, brilliantly narrated there by David Attenborough. Makes it a very charming piece, but it's the music that really grasps us. It's just perfect. And at the end, when they're having the triumphant parade, you can't help but smile. It's just wonderful stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed Peter and the Wolf, as well as the other music that I've presented today. And I look forward to seeing you all in person sometime soon. That's coming. I'm just not sure exactly when, but it is coming. So thank you very much for tuning in, and see you soon. Bye-bye.